with that, President Bush laughed. I got some great pictures of them doing that together. And he now has one of our shadow boxes hanging in the Bush Library, and that's the one that we renamed the White House Edition, and that's the story behind it. John Borders, who was one of the beneficiaries of some of the monies that we gave. He was a guy who had lost a leg, actually was pronounced dead on the battlefield in Iraq, brought back to life, made his way to Walter Reed, and it was in rehab for, I think, more than a year when we met him. And we were able to donate enough money for him to be able to move his family with him so he can get an apartment off campus at Walter Reed, and it had an unbelievable impact on his rehabilitation. But while he was in the hospital, he was in bed, and President Bush made his rounds throughout Walter Reed, which he often did, and he basically said to John, he said, you know, what can I do for you, soldier? He said, well, actually, you can do two things for me. He said, first of all, I would like to make sure that I can remain active duty. And so President Bush looked at the guy on his flank and said, you know, make sure this kid can remain active duty. And he said, second of all, he said, I want to go running with you when I'm back up on my feet. And he said, President Bush said, okay, you know, if you're going to be ready to run, I'll make sure I'm ready to run too. And so about a year went by, and John was still doing his rehab, and he was getting nervous because President Bush only had a year left in office. And he calls President Bush and he said, President Bush, I don't know if I'm going to be ready to run, but would it be okay if we go bike riding? And he said, I'm relieved. He said, I'd much rather go bike riding with you. He said, but I figured if you were going to run, I would have to run because you're a guy running on one leg, so who would I be to complain? So he said, so they set it up for literally the next Sunday. And so John calls me and says, do you still have number one? Because I wrote a big number one on the back of that shadow box that we built first. And John said, you still have number one? I said, yeah, we do. He said, get it up here. I'm going to see President Bush on Sunday. So they go off in the Secret Service ride, and then they come back, and his whole family is there. Well, Molly, John's wife, brings the shadow box like he asked, and they start to come in through White House security. And he gets up to President Bush, and he says, President Bush, here, I want to give you this very special gift. And he tells him the story behind it, which President Bush said, I didn't know anything about this. This is a really cool project. And so he says, but by the way, how did you get this in here? He said, nobody can bring me a gift. He said, it violates, I don't even know how many rules we have here at the White House. He said, we give you gifts for coming. We don't accept them. So John looked at him and said, well, he said, yeah, I got through White House security, Treasury security, and the presidential detail to get this here. He said, well, how'd you do that? He goes, I'm a one-legged soldier who served in Iraq. They didn't have a chance, but I'll take this one. You have my word that it's will remain in the Bush Library forever. Thank you so much for taking the time to view our video. We hope now you'll look around our website and find the perfect gift for the military member, police officer, or firefighter in your life. My name is Lane Ostro, and thank you very much on behalf of Products for Good and the Honor One campaign.